Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Athletic School Podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome a guest who is all about helping athletes take control of their money. Connor Smith is the founder of Locker Room Finance. Connor works directly with professional and aspiring athletes to help them make smart financial decisions, plan for the future, and build wealth while navigating the unique challenge of an athletic career. From managing contracts and endorsements to saving and investing wisely, Connor's mission is to empower athletes to be financially confident both on and off the field. He's known for breaking down complicated financial topics in a way that's relatable and actionable, making sure athletes aren't just chasing numbers. Connor, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Connor, so you mainly work with athletes, and there's a funny video that I saw you making with a team, and I won't remember what team, but the girls' math, and they were talking
hmm
about how they think about money. Um,
Yeah.
my first question for you is, what's the biggest financial mistake you see athletes making early in their careers?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just not having a plan. And honestly, that's everyone, right? For me, it was right after I graduated college. For these athletes, maybe they're 18, maybe they're 24. But most people just don't have a plan for their money. And when I present to athletes, the things I say is like, you have to start by knowing your stats. And most people don't know their financial stats. Like, what's your income? What are your expenses? Do you have debt? If you do have debt, what's the interest rate? Like these simple numbers that a lot of people just overlook. And so, not having a plan, I would say, is the biggest financial mistake I see, not only for athletes, but for everyone. And did want to clarify in your intro, I don't work with many professional athletes. I've worked with a couple. My main bread and butter is with college athletes. And I really love the opportunity to work with these athletes. Like those girls you saw in that video, that was a Tennessee women's soccer team. And I just love that age group, because they're in an age that I was not too long ago, and I didn't know anything about money when I was in college. And so getting to come alongside them and help them understand just a little bit more. Like, I know I can't solve everything for them in like a 45-minute presentation or a short one-on-one meeting, but if I can get them to have a plan for their money and avoid that biggest financial mistake, avoid not ever thinking about it. 'Cause that's the thing. People wake up, they're 25, 35, 45 years old, and they've never thought about making a plan for their money. So yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I see for these young athletes that they just don't have a plan. They never think about it.
Mhm. And how do you go about making a plan for some of the athletes that they don't even have income, right? So
hmm
maybe it's the parents helping, and sometimes they don't even have a credit card. Like, how do you
Yeah.
go about that?
I love to start with minimum expenses. There are a lot of really good financial people out there that tell you like the 50, 30, 20, 50% for needs, 30% for wants, 20% for savings. And I love that. But like you said, that doesn't work for everyone. Because what if you have no income? Or like some of these people, I don't work with a ton of athletes that are making millions, but some of them are. And like, do they need to spend 50% of their income on housing? Like, no, they don't need to do that. So I always say start with minimum expenses and then you decide what to do from there. And so for most college athletes, whether their income is scholarships, I mean, their income could be student loans, right? You could be getting money back from that, money from family, NIL deals, whatever it is. Figure out what are your absolute minimum expenses. And then ideally, you have income that exceeds that. So if you have to spend $2,000 a month, hopefully you're making more than that. And if you're not, then you get to find a way to make some more money or spend less money. But
Mhm.
it all comes back to decide or not decide, but like I said earlier, know your stats. So figure out what are your minimum expenses, and then you get to expand from there. You can give some of that money, you can save more of it, you can spend it on whatever you want. But yeah, coming back to having a plan.
Mhm. How did you get into working with athletes, and what's something
Mm.
unique about their financial needs compared to other people?
Yeah, I really I just kind of thought I wanted to do it, and I tried it, and it's working out so far. That's a really simple way to put it. But I had a totally different career, but I knew a lot of student athletes because when I was in college at UTSA, the University of Texas at San Antonio, I was in the marching band. I was a drum major, like one of the leadership positions there. And so I knew a lot of athletes just through being a sports junkie and my marching band connections. And then some of these athletes, they started to graduate and they would reach out to me because I was pretty public about my student loan journey. I paid off $22,000 student loans in 3 months during that COVID summer, like the first few months of COVID. The world shut down. And I was like, this is an opportunity for me to pay off my student loans, move on with my life, buy an engagement ring, get married. Like, so I took that path, and I'm really happy that I did. And so some athletes would reach out to me after they graduated because they knew that I had learned a couple things about money. And I always asked them, I was like, don't they teach you this in school? Like, because athletic departments are very public about what they offer for their athletes in terms of nutrition and strength and mental health. And I thought financial education was one of those things. And they were like, yeah, they kind of offer something. But the main thing I kept hearing was that it just didn't resonate with the athletes. Like, whoever's presenting the information, nothing against them, but it just didn't stick. And the information was probably always good because it's pretty simple information, like spend less than you make, learn a little bit about saving, learn about investing, be intentional. But like the way that it was being presented, I guess just didn't resonate with the athletes. And so I reached out to my connections over at UTSA, the athletic director, a lady named Stephanie Cisneros. She was a really big part in that. She's the director of student athlete development, like the life skills and stuff. And so I asked her, I said, hey, some of your athletes are graduating without a solid financial base, and I'd love to help. Like, can I come do a couple presentations? I'll do it for free. We'll see, how we can make this work. So we did that for about 6 months, and we learned a lot of things. And then we did another set of like the next semester we did it again, and it was a little bit better. And that was about 3 years ago. And about 3 semesters in, we got pretty good at it. We figured out, how to structure it, how to ensure that athletes would actually show up, how to make the scheduling work, what we want to offer them. I learned a lot about, what athletes are actually struggling with, because I came from the outside of the athletic world where I thought I knew, but then meeting a lot with them one-on-one, just learning what does their life actually look like and what information and guidance they need. And so after all that, I was like, cool, I could make a business out of this, and I could help a lot more student athletes, just like we helped the ones at UTSA. And so that's kind of how we got started. And then I went full time with this about 1.5 years ago. And so we're about 18 months in. We've gone from 1 school to 8 schools this fall, which is insane growth. And I'm very, very happy, very excited for that. And in all of this, I think the main things that I see unique about student athletes and their financial situation is just the opportunities that they have, because it's very different from a normal college student. Most college students don't have the opportunity to go make $4 million. And like I said earlier, like a lot of student athletes aren't making that. A lot of them are still walk-ons. A lot of them are still taking out student loans. But there is that opportunity there. And so I think that shifts the way a lot of athletes are thinking and trying to get that kind of money. But I would say the single biggest unique thing about student athletes, and this is included for all college students, is just the amount of things that are provided for them or covered for them. And student athletes have, the most resources provided for them, which is a good thing. But I've talked to, some Ivy League schools where they say their athletes are graduating without a fundamental foundation of like how to pay bills, how to like manage income and expenses. And that's because everything is provided for them. Like they don't pay for their housing. Someone else does that. They, and other schools included, like they're on full ride scholarships. And so they don't have to worry about money. And so the biggest thing that I could provide for them is, again, just having them be involved in that process, even if it is covered for them, just becoming aware of that. But yeah, like when it comes to their finances, their financial situations are just as diverse as any other college student. Some of them are taking out student loans. Some of them have rich parents. Some of them have, no parents. Like it's just anything and everything in between. So that's why I really like the way that we've built Locker Room Finance to allow one-on-one meetings with student athletes, because every athlete is in such a unique position, and we get to help them through that.
Mm-hmm. So I see in your head, Locker Room Finance. And what's the main message you're trying to, teach athletes? You mentioned about the plan, because a lot of them, they don't even have a plan. Is that the main message you're trying to share, or is there something else? Creating the athletic school has been a long journey. Reaching 100 episodes has taken consistency, grit, and a lot of passion. Having incredible guests share their story has been a true pleasure. But now, I want to ask you for your help. If you haven't already, please follow the show on whatever platform you're listening from. It really helps me a lot. And I promise you this, I'll continue to bring on the best guest speakers I can, and I'll do my very best to share content that helps you grow, not just as an athlete, but as a person on and off the field. I'll study, I will read, and research relentless for ways to help you. And I'll share everything I learned right here.
Yeah, simple, practical financial education. Locker Room Finance was built to provide student athletes with financial education that they actually enjoy and understand so they can win with money. And athletes like to win. Most people do. And athletes, if you make it to college athletics, D3, D1, whatever, you're someone that likes to win. And obviously you've been good enough to get to that level. And so I take those athletes that have all these good traits and skills, and they have a certain character about them that is disciplined, and they know what it means to work hard. And I take that and I help them apply that to their money.
Awesome. I love that. And for me, when I came here, I was telling you, as an international student,
Mm-hmm.
our philosophy in a way when it comes to money is a little bit different. Our reality, our experience is a little bit different because we can't really work. We can work on campus,
Yeah.
but it's a mess. And
Yeah.
and sometimes your parents help, sometimes your parents can help. Currency is a big thing. So with that being said, money can be a source of stress for a lot of people, not only international students like me, but for anyone, for any student athlete. So how do you help them build a healthy mindset towards money?
Yeah. Man, that's so true about the international student stuff. Like I have an internship program and it's unpaid, but I've had a lot of international students go through that program with me. And even that, an unpaid internship, there's so much paperwork and red flags and stuff. And then, not being able to make NIL and having to go home to do a deal and all that stuff is just crazy. I hope that could be adjusted someday, but obviously that's way outside of my realm.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's very complicated. It's just so different because the US is so big. There's so many different schools, Sometimes you get athletes that play for, in soccer terms, they play for Real Madrid, Barcelona, and for some reason they didn't make it. They come here in a full ride, So it's a little bit different than the regular student, which it was me, which you go to a regular NAIA school, you get a good scholarship, but you still need to figure things out, and you get an internship, but then you don't have a car to go to the internship, So it's a life experience, but again, I think it's a blessing as well because we learn a lot through that process. But going back to the question, like I said, it can be stressful for everyone when it comes to money. So what's the mindset going to talk to these athletes and tell them, like, look, it doesn't have to be stressful?
Yeah. Money is a tool, and money reflects your values. So, a lot of people talk about, is money evil or is it good or whatever. Money's a tool, right? Like it barely is even a thing, but you can use that to show what you value. And so my wife and I, we give money every single month to things that we value. My wife and I bought a house because we value space and community and having a place to host people. And there are things that we spend our money on that reflect our value. And so when it comes to building a healthy money mindset, I think that's where it starts for me. Obviously all the practical stuff, minimal expenses, check your stats, know your plan, all that stuff. But it's just helping athletes open their eyes to the reality of money, and showing them that they can be in charge of it and it doesn't have to be confusing. I think a lot of young people are just confused about money. And it's funny, one of the most common things that athletes tell me is like, man, I'm so glad that you shared this with us today, because my dad or my mom, they're always trying to teach me about investing or like open a Roth IRA or high yield savings accounts, and I just never want to listen to them because it sounds confusing and stressful. And that's true, because a lot of people, I've spent a lot of time being very intentional about the way I speak about money and the way that when I'm in front of student athletes, what words I use, what examples I use. And it's all to make it very easily understandable for these athletes and present it in a way that they probably haven't heard it before. But most people haven't done that. And so when even some friends that I have, when we sit around and talk about stocks and investing and stuff, there's some stuff that I don't understand when other people are talking about it, just because the way that a lot of people explain things around money, it's just confusing. They're just big words like arbitrage. Like what is arbitrage? Like I could break it down for you, but like we can't start there. You have to start someplace that's much simpler. So I think the question was building a healthy mindset around money. But yeah, it just bringing it back to money's a tool that reflects your values. And so not that I want money to be the most important thing in everyone's lives, but it's something that we all have in common where, I mean, we all have to eat and sleep and we all have to manage our money. And so at the end of the day, money is that tool, and then you use that. But you have to have a very base level understanding of money to be able to use that tool to live the life that you want.
Hmm. For these athletes, a lot of the times I feel like they don't think long term, right? And when it
Hmm.
comes to money and investing, especially investing for long term, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So what's one rule, if you can come up with one rule that you would recommend for these athletes that sometimes they are not even thinking about that long term?
Yeah, it's all about habits. I I make so like you're talking about investing. When I talk about investing, when I teach about investing, I tell athletes the two most important words in investing is to save first. And like that, I think is my big picture view on money, especially for young athletes, is develop the habit of saving probably before anything else. Like, yes, make a plan, do all that stuff, but probably before you do anything else, develop the habit of saving. I've had an athlete who blew through her, I guess she like worked in high school, saved up about $5,000 on a full scholarship, so she didn't need the money. She blew through $5,000 her first 4 months of college just on clothes and shoes and food. And like, that's a very common thing. And she was like, she felt this shame and this guilt for blowing through all that because she knew that she should be thinking long term. But in the moment, like your friends are going out, you want to go with them, you spend the money. Like, who cares? So for her, it was like, okay, we went from 5,000 down to zero. How can we get ourselves out of this and change our money mindset? And that was save something every single month. And I tell this to every athlete I talk to, save something every single month. And for this athlete, it was literally like $15 a week or, $90 a month or $100 a month, like whatever it is for them. If they can develop the habit of saving money every single month, that is a very transferable money skill to anything else in life. Just like for me, what I did when I graduated, I started paying off my student loans every single week. I was working and I was getting paid every week. So I was paying it off every single week. And that transferred to when I was done with student loans, I was saving money every single, at that time, month, because I had a job, I got paid monthly. And I was saving money every single month. Then a couple months later, I started investing every single month. But it's just being consistent with that. A lot of people, they'll save money based on whatever's left over. And I just like to flip that and I like to save money and then spend what's left over.
Hmm. Sometimes the income that they have, sometimes they don't have income, but sometimes the income that they have, it's unpredictable, right? We're talking about
Oh, yeah.
NIL deals and things like that. So it's very unpredictable. So how do you balance spending, saving, and investing when the income is unpredictable?
Yeah, I love speaking to this specific situation. And actually, the Locker Room Finance app, we're about to release the 2.0 version of it, and we're building in some really good math to help athletes through this. But the biggest thing, and I do this for my business as well, is finding a way to give yourself a regular salary, like a regular monthly income, even when you make money kind of randomly. And the way that I do this for my business and the way I tell athletes to is set up a personal bank, if you will, in a high yield savings account. So there are savings accounts and then there are high yield savings accounts. The high yield savings account, it just pays you a little bit of extra money for keeping your money in there. So it's a great place to hold your savings. So anytime you get paid, you put everything you have in there. So for these athletes, it might be $20,000 just one time from one brand deal or something. Or it might be $100,000 or $5,000. Any amount of money goes into this bank, into this high yield savings account. And then you figure out how much you can afford to pay yourself monthly. So if you're someone that gets paid irregularly, maybe you get paid a lot in the summer and nothing for the rest of the year. Well, instead of not having income the rest of the year, take all that money, put it in the account, and then pay yourself $1,000 a month from that account. Pay yourself $4,000 a month from that account. And that's the easiest way. I mean, I've worked with very professional, high dollar sales people who are all commission based, and they'll make literally $45,000 one month and $2,000 the next month. And so these people, I tell them the same thing. It's like, don't go spend the $45,000. Put it in a bank and figure out what you can afford to pay yourself monthly.
Love it. What's one piece of financial advice you wish every athlete would follow from day one, the day they become a student
Mm,
athlete in college? What's one
mm,
piece of advice,
just one.
if you can?
I've already said some good ones.
Y-
It'd
Yeah.
probably be just don't chase the hype. It's just not worth it. Like whatever it is, if it's clothes or shoes or a car or, looking a certain way on Instagram or like, you take the money and you like roll it down here. Like it's just none of that's real. And like, if it is real, I just don't know if that's the life any of us really want to live. I'm not against people having nice things. Like, a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, I bought a new car, you're probably mad at me. It's like, no, I'm not. Like, I want people to own nice things. I'm just scared when nice things own people. And so if you go buy $100,000 chain, but you bought it with a credit card that you're paying off for the next 12 months, you don't own the chain. The chain owns you. Like, it owns $1,000 a month of your income for the next 12 months. Like, I don't know if that's the best way that we can be living our lives. And so I think it just comes down to, they call it keeping up with the Joneses. That's kind of like the old school saying for it, but it's just chasing hype. And, I struggle with this quite a bit myself. I have FOMO, the fear of missing out. I have it real bad sometimes. Like, I want to do the things. I want to have all the fun. I want to go all the places and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, why do I want those things? And is that the best thing for me? And, like I said, sometimes my wife and I took a vacation to Greece, and it was a great trip. And like, I don't think that was me really chasing hype, but like, there are other people I know that are traveling every single month and they're doing European vacation all the time. And it's like, that's the kind of hype that I am tempted to chase because I like traveling. I like going places with my wife. But for some people, it's a brand new car. For some people, it's an upgraded car. It's the $1,000 pair of J's or like whatever it is. And most of it's just status symbols that don't mean much. But yeah, if you can stay away from chasing the hype. Last thing I'll say on this, the easiest way to wind up with no money is to spend all of your money showing other people that you had money. And so if you have $100,000 car, that used to impress me. All that tells me now is you have $100,000 less than you had before you bought the car. And like, depending on your phase of life, I mean, if you've got it, sure, buy the Lambo. Like, I don't care. If you're making $5 million a year, like, you can probably afford to do that. But if, like, a lot of people, they barely get it. They start making $5,000 a month in NIL, and then they go buy a new car with $1,000 a month payment. It's like, you got 20% of your income going to a car that's depreciating in value, and it's all about hype. So yeah, just, I would say, one rule from day one: don't chase the hype.
Yeah, I like that a lot because I feel like that goes a long way. It's funny
Yeah.
because the other day I was talking to my friend and we were talking about Rolexes,
Yeah.
and and we were watching this guy that he look at famous people and he tells us how much the watch that they're wearing is.
Mhm.
So we're looking at Rolexes, and my friend's from Brazil, so we're talking about the currency and all of that, and I'm like, look, oh my gosh, it's a lot of money for like the cheapest Rolex. I think it's like $5,000. And we
Mhm.
always talk about those things, and then for some reason it just hit me. I'm like, imagine if we get these $5,000 and we put toward something else, right? Maybe we help two international students that, like me and my friend, that were
Yeah.
struggling back then. How much more value we would add to that. So yeah, the hype is complicated. It's a real thing because,
Yeah.
like, at the end of the day, like, what's a Rolex? Like, do you
Mhm.
really need a $5,000 watch to see what time it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I understand it looks nice and all of that, but 5,000, it's a lot, and I mean that's the cheapest one. So
Yeah.
I mean, and we always talk about here at Athletic School. I try to always talk to people, question everything, and ask why you doing the things that you're
Mm.
doing.
Mhm.
Like, are you getting a watch because you wanted the watch because it's important for you, or is it because you want to show off,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's huge, and that goes a long way.
While you're talking about that, I went to my website. We have a resources tab with investing calculators, NIL, tax estimations, stuff like that. And I went on my investing calculator and I put $5,000. If you invested that into what's called the S&P 500, which is like the
Hmm.
general American stock market, if you did that when you were 25, then when you got to retirement age, that $5,000 without adding anything else to it would be about $250,000,
That's
almost $250,000. And so that's what I asked myself too. And like, I actually struggle. And I'm not trying to like flex or anything. I kind of struggle the other way sometimes, where like I see that and I'm like, man, if I could just get another $1,000 in my investment account, another $2,000 in my
Mhm.
investment account, like before I turn 30 or something. And I have to remind myself that like both sides can be true. Like, yes, if this $5,000 could be a Rolex today, I probably don't need that. I probably want to do this instead. But then like, if I could take a trip for $5,000 and that's something my wife and I plan for, then like, okay, maybe I don't actually need that in the investment account. Maybe I want to get there. And so that's what I just love working through that with student athletes on like, what do you value and what does your life look like and what can you afford to invest and what can you afford to save? But also there are some personal finance people that I really respect, but they're all like, pay off all your debt and save a bunch of money and invest a bunch of money and retire when you're 32 years old and like, BRRRR. It's like some real estate thing where you buy a house and flip it and buy a house and flip it. Like, I'm okay with that if you want to do that, but like, I love helping people find the balance in the middle of that. Like, how can you live the life that you want to? But yeah, most of the math that I do with student athletes is like, especially the football guys or basketball people that are making a little bit of money, or someone that has a really good social media presence, and they're like, yeah, I just got a $70,000 signing deal for this one company, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, what do you want to do? It's like, oh, I saw this new car down the street. And it's like, oh, whoa. Like, let's do a little bit of math. Like, what if we saved half of it? And, what, you go on a trip or something, or like buy a more reasonable car. But yeah, when you said $5,000 on a Rolex, which that's a cheap Rolex.
It is.
That's a cheap one.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I mean, you buy the Rolex just to show other people that you have enough money to buy a Rolex. And maybe at a certain stage of life, that's an important thing for some people. I just worry about all the people that aren't really making it. I know a guy that has 2 Corvettes, and I know that he struggles to pay his bills. Like that's all I'm going to say. I don't have 2 Corvettes.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me to my next question, because, we're talking about a lot of athletes that they don't know what to do. They don't know how to save. They don't know how to spend. But there's some athletes that they are thinking long term. They are thinking about building wealth outside sports, creating businesses here and there, investing. So what should they prioritize first? Because you mentioned like some people that, pay your debt first and then go do this and go do that. So what should those people prioritize when they're thinking about long term?
Yeah. I would agree with pay off your debt and save a bunch of money. Like I said, save first before you do investing, before you do anything else. Like, I think having an emergency fund is the first thing. Most people, $5,000 is a good emergency fund, just a pile of money for when something goes wrong. And like, I'm one step away from stupid every day of my life, and I need an emergency fund to save me from that. I break a window, that's $700. I like forget to do something with my car, that's $1,000. Like, I need my emergency fund to protect me from myself, but also from all the unknowns of life, right? We have a dog. He might get sick. Like, boom, you need $2,000. Like, you just don't know. So save first. But then when it comes to building wealth in any realm, it could be real estate, businesses, anything, you just have to educate yourself. You have to be smart, learn a lot, invest a little. And so when it comes to like the stock market, that's what I tell athletes when they're in college. A lot of them feel like they're falling behind, but you're not. Like, you're 18 years old. You don't need to be throwing thousands of dollars into an investment account unless that really makes sense for your financial situation. But invest a little and learn a lot. And especially when it comes to getting into the business world, or I'm not a big proponent of day trading or like getting funding, or it's like, I don't get down with that. But like, if people want to do that, it's so easy nowadays to get into all of that. And a lot of people get into it and they're not educated enough on it. Like, for me, I wouldn't start day trading today because I don't know nearly enough. Like, that's also not a goal of mine. But yeah, I always tell athletes, just don't put your money into anything that you don't understand. There are a lot of pro athletes that have gone broke. I mean, the stats, it's like more than 70% of pro athletes go broke. And it's because they, one, put their money into things they don't understand. They let other people manage it for them. And then they just spend like crazy trying to chase the hype like we talked about earlier. But the biggest thing would say, like, what should they prioritize? Prioritize educating themselves around whatever they want to do, and educate yourself until you get to the point where when you see a good deal and when you see a bad deal. Like, I think about car washes. Like, it seems like any, athlete that kind of makes it, like, they want to buy a car wash or a restaurant. And it's like, those are worlds that most people don't naturally know a lot about. And that's why every other car wash you see has new branding on it every 12 months, because someone bought it and then they painted it and then they lost all their money and now they're selling it again. And now it's shut down and now it turned into a gas station. Like, a car wash, a restaurant. Restaurants lose money all the time unless you really know what you're doing. So yeah, just don't put your money in, even stock market, crypto. Don't put your money into something if you don't understand it well enough to explain it to like a 5-year-old. Like I invest a lot of money in the stock market, and if I was talking to a 5-year-old, I could explain to the 5-year-old why I'm putting money in the stock market and like what the S&P is and what the companies are that I own and all that stuff. But if I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't invest a lot of money into it. Actually wouldn't invest any money into it. Like crypto, personally, for me, I'm not like a crypto bro. I'm also not against crypto, but I personally don't have hardly any money in it just because I don't fully understand it like I understand the American stock market. Like I know I'm probably missing out on something. I know it's probably going to be, but if I can't understand, like I can't explain blockchain to a 12-year-old. Like I don't understand it that well. So yeah, if I ever wanted to get into the crypto world, I would just need to understand it a little bit better first.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And it's funny you mentioned day trading because I see a lot of people like there's the interstate here in Cincinnati, and there's like a huge billboard. I always look at it. It's like day trading while full time, and it's huge. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that do that. And there's a study that some Brazilians made a study on day trading, and it's like 99% of people lose money in day trading.
Yeah.
You know, so the people that are making money in day trading, they're probably just selling courses about day trading.
Exactly.
They're not doing day trading. So yeah, I understand the ignorance that we have to go get the money that is quick. You know, like, oh, let me make $20, let me make $100 a day.
Yeah.
Without doing anything. But like, we have to understand that in real life, that's not truly how things go. So yeah.
One more thing, if I could say one more thing on that, I just thought of it. A lot of people like to use the quote that most millionaires have 7 streams of income. And so they use that quote and they're like, oh, well, that means I need to start day trading and buy a car wash and have crypto income and have this and sell a course. And what they don't realize is, sure, statistically, I don't even know if that statement is true. Even if it is, statistically, most millionaires having 7 streams of income through different investments and real estate and stuff, that might be true. But they didn't get there with 7 streams of income. They got there by being really good at one thing. And like, that's what I'm trying to do with Locker Room Finance. Be really, really good at Locker Room Finance for 10, 15, 20 years. And then along the way, opportunities might present itself to get into a real estate deal or to get it, obviously like investing in stocks and stuff, what I'm already doing. But yeah, people, they try and spread themselves thin so they can get multiple streams of income. And it's like, you could build 3 or 4 different side businesses making 20 grand a year or whatever, or you could get one really good skill. You can become a marketer and work for another company and maybe start your own thing. But like, you could just be really good at one thing. Like Elon Musk, he made his money off of PayPal. Like he got really good at that thing and then he sold it. And now he's turned it into like multiple businesses that do a whole bunch of different stuff. But like, and I might be wrong on Elon's thing, but I'm pretty sure Elon's the one that started PayPal. And like, that's where he made his money. And then once you have all that money, then you can take it and start a bunch of other stuff and get up to those 7 streams of income.
Yeah, no, I think people have to ask themselves some questions, why they're doing what they're doing, and just look into those things a little bit better, because I don't know, those headlines are always cheesy, and we should, go into a little bit deeper on those things, because yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
You mentioned a habit that you mentioned was saving. Is there any other habits that you think people should have when it comes to money besides saving?
Yeah, my wife and I, we have a monthly budget meeting every single month. And for single people, you could do this by yourself. You could do it with a friend, a parent, accountability partner, whatever you want. But I think my wife, for us specifically, I'll just talk about marriage for a second, because that's the way that we manage our money. And, y'all can relate this to your life however you want. But for us, like one of the strongest parts of our marriage is around our money, because we talk about it and we're intentional about it. Like I said, I think one of the first questions you asked today was something about, I don't remember, but my answer was that money is a tool that reflects your values. And so for my wife and I, we are in line with our values because of, I mean, it's a lot of, it's spiritual stuff. It's all that. But like for us, we sit down every single month, sometimes twice a month, and we talk about our money. What are we going to buy this month? Is that really worth it? Do we value that so much? Should we cancel that subscription because we don't really care about that anymore? Should we give money to this other cause because, this opportunity came up? And so we're talking about our money regularly, at least once a month, in like we call it a budget meeting, but we just sit down and we look over our money, right? We look over, what did we spend last month? What did we overspend on? Are we okay with that? We just finished a patio project in the backyard. We spent a little bit more money than we wanted to. And so it's like, okay, we know that. So whatever project we're going to do next, maybe we wait another month or two to do that. And so I think for us, talking about our money regularly has really helped us in the first, we just hit 4 years married, and it's really helped us align ourselves on what's important. Also, like our schedule, talking about what we're going to spend money on, that helps us understand what's happening this month. Like, I'm traveling this a couple times this month. Oh, there's this concert. We need to buy the tickets. And it's helped us a whole lot. So I think for anyone out there, married, unmarried, whatever, if you can sit down and really think about your money for like 30 minutes a month, it'd blow your mind how successful you would be. Like everyone, a lot of people complain about their money and not making enough, or like it's too hard. And I think that there are definitely some real things for people. Like the struggle is real. I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, I think if a lot of people would sit down and actually just think about making a plan for their money, what are my minimum expenses? What do I want to do with my money? Do I have any money saved? And if you do that, let's say 30 minutes a month, let's say 30 minutes a week, we should like give up one episode of whatever. My wife and I, we're watching Modern Family right now. I love watching Modern Family. It's so funny. But like, yeah, give up one episode of Modern Family a week and talk about your money. Do a little bit of education. Listen to a podcast about money. Learn what a Roth IRA is. Like it doesn't take, especially for the student athletes I work with, they spend so much time. I mean, 40 hours a week probably just on their sport. And then they have school on top of that. Mm-hmm. You can spend 30 minutes a week, 30 minutes a month, just thinking about money, educating yourself a little bit. Yeah. What was I don't remember the question.
No,
I just kind of went off.
Yeah. Any other habits besides saving? And no, I agree. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. 30, let's start with 30 minutes a month. So if you're listening to this right now, 30 minutes a month, just sit down and think about your money. And it's going to be weird. It's going to be awkward. You're not going to know what to do. Just start there. And then maybe upgrade to 30 minutes a week once you start getting into it a little bit. And that could change everything for you.
Yeah, no, that's very doable. My last question for you is, if you could give one piece of advice for every athlete before they sign a contract, or maybe it's just an offer letter for a job that they got after college, what that advice would be?
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but save first and don't chase the hype. And put your career into perspective. Like, depending on what type of contract this is, let's say it's an NIL thing and it's $100,000. Put that into perspective. Like, $100,000 is a lot of money. Will you ever have the opportunity to make that again? And is that guaranteed? You know, some of these football guys that are making $1 million a year right now, they could get hurt and it could all be over. And like, I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but like, it could all end very quickly. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's, let's say, post-grad, you get a job offer for $100,000 a year. Okay, cool. How likely is it that's going to continue? Probably pretty likely, as long as you're not horrible at your job and get fired. And then, like, what can you do with that money? Like, put that money into perspective and just take 30 minutes a month, take 30 minutes a week, figure out how can I save my money first, and then what do I need to do with the rest of it? But yeah, I worry about, and like that stat where, 70% of athletes go broke after retiring or whatever. All that is, it's just not put into perspective. So let's say it's a professional athlete. You might be making several $1 million a year, but like your career is going to last for 3 years. So you might make $20 million in 3 or 5 years, but then what are you going to do after that? And if you set it up right, you could live off that money literally for the rest of your life and never work again. Unless you go buy 6 houses and 4 cars and like, you have 2 different wives and you're like paying, like that's just, it gets really tough really quick. And that money, and obviously there's tons of taxes involved in all of that people don't think about. But yeah, like you could take that money and swing. Like Shaquille O'Neal is a great example. He's like a businessman. He owns tons of restaurants. He's got a shoe line. Like he's doing really well and he took all the money he had and he educated himself around some things. And I'm sure he has a great team around him. But there are a lot of good athletes to use as examples. Like obviously there's a long list of athletes to not follow because they ended up broke and stuff. There are a lot of good athletes that did we talk? They saved a bunch of money. They took care of themselves. They put their career into perspective, and they said, how can I use this to create, a lifelong income for myself, but also generational wealth for my kids and take care of people in the community. So yeah, I would, but it all comes back to save first, I think.
Mhm.
But before you sign that contract, save first, put it into perspective of what is this money actually going to do for me? What are my values, and how can I spend it to reflect those values?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that complicated. It can be simple if we make it
Yeah.
simple. It doesn't have to be that hard. So no, I love the message, and I think it's easy enough for people that right now they can, after the podcast, they can sit down and they can figure a lot of things out by themselves just from the
Yeah.
podcast. But yeah, Connor, thanks so much for taking the time. Thanks
You're welcome.
for all you do. I think that's something that um, a lot of people are missing. But I think you're doing a awesome job to go to schools and kind of like fill that gap, which
Hmm.
unfortunately schools are not doing it.
Yeah.
It sucks that we have to bring someone from the outside to do that, but I'm happy you are the guy doing that.
Yeah.
So thanks for
I
taking the
will,
time.
if I could, I'll plug myself because I mean I have to. I'm working with 8 schools, maybe 9 this semester for the spring. I've got 1 on the list. I would love to have a lot more.
Mhm.
And the best way this thing grows is by people that know me and share the word. So if anyone is listening to this and you're a student athlete and I haven't been to your campus, let's talk. Reach out to me, Locker Room Finance on Instagram. Get me connected with your student athlete development people, and we'll see if I can come out there. And like you were saying, my dream job 3 years ago was to do what I'm doing now just for one school, because I see a need for someone like me being internal. That isn't really the way the systems are set up, and that's okay. And that's why I built Locker Room Finance the way I did, where I partner with schools, go there for a few days at a time. But yeah, I would love to do this for more athletes in more places, because like you said, it's just something, it's a need that's not being met. And man, it makes me, I'm going to, it makes me so mad. I see these commercials like the NCAA commercials, and they're like, scholarships are guaranteed and they get mental health resources. And it says guaranteed financial literacy coaching. And I'm like, by who?
Yeah.
Where? Because I'm very fortunate. I'm working with some really big, some SEC type schools now. And, some of them I've talked to, and they're like, yeah, like we kind of brought this guy in once and someone gets this. And I'm like, yes, but what about like your third string track and field athlete? Who is talking to them about money? Because the NCAA is saying it's guaranteed financial literacy coaching. And I don't see that. And so I come in and I accomplish that for the school. But yeah, I see a world where Locker Room Finance, there's some other great people out there doing similar things to me. And whether it's me or another company, I don't really care. It's just these schools need the financial education provided to them in a way that their athletes actually understand and enjoy, so they can win with money and stop being confused. And I mean, the institutions are making a lot of money off the athletes. The athletes are providing a lot from this as well. It's just so funny that, like, especially with the new rev share and everything, these schools are finding millions of dollars to pay to the athletes, but you can't find a little bit of money to pay someone to tell your athletes, to help your athletes figure out what to do with that money. It's just like,
Yeah.
the system is really interesting. I'm really grateful for the schools that I work with because they see the value in this, and their schools are willing to put a little bit of funding behind it as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, anytime I'm talking in a place like this, I've got to plug myself because we're in a very rapid growth phase, and I want to get as many schools in as early as possible, because someday this will get to a thing where I don't even know what Locker Room Finance is going to look like, if we're going to grow or if there's going to be multiple people involved in this or whatever. But right now, the response has been really great from athletes, and the setup we have right now is super cool. So if you're an athlete listening to this, I'd love to be on your campus in the spring.
For sure. I'll definitely be sending you a list of people as well that I think will benefit
Okay.
from this. So
I hope it's okay that I plugged myself on your podcast. Sorry.
100%, 100%. And that's why I bring guest speakers. It's not
Yeah.
to benefit only my audience, but for benefit myself as well, so I can learn a little bit.
Yeah.
But also I don't know, I just feel like it's a two-way street, and we help each other. I'm on that mission as well, trying to help
For
more
sure.
people. So yeah, thanks for everything. It was awesome learning a little bit more about it, and I'm sure people will take a lot of good insights from this. So
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.